You know how it is you really want to learn something, get deep into a topic, but just the idea of wading through tons of information,
Uh-huh.
it can feel like a bit much.
Totally. Overwhelming sometimes.
Right. So that's why we're here today. We're doing a deep dive into Arooka.com.
Yeah, and what caught my eye right away is that it's described as coming from an autistic polymath,
Ooh, interesting.
which suggests, maybe not just dry facts, maybe a more creative take on how information is presented.
Absolutely. And the scale is just, wow, over 100 nonfiction titles. They say they aim for clarity and being unbiased.
Mm-hmm.
So our goal today really is to give you a feel for that huge range, but also maybe uncover some of the surprising depth, the kind of unexpected things you find there.
Like a shortcut to understanding what they offer.
Exactly, a shortcut. And we're seeing all sorts of formats, right? Big books, but also free stuff online, like they mentioned Coffee and Shanghai Volume 2.
Yeah, and what's really interesting, I think, is how these really different subjects just sit side by side. It kind of makes you think about connections you wouldn't normally make.
Okay, yeah, that's a good point. So let's get ready for a bit of a journey then, through some pretty varied intellectual ground.
That sounds good. Where do we start?
Okay, let's start with history. But, like, not your typical history lesson. Arooka's got this big project called Kingdom of Canada. They're positioning it as, like, maybe the most complete book of Canadian history ever.
That's ambitious.
It is. And their approach: history from the source, not regurgitation.
Ah, okay. So digging into primary materials, not just summarizing other books.
Seems like it. For instance, there's this huge 446-page excerpt called Divine Disaster.
Divine disaster. Okay, what's that about?
It looks at the American Revolution, specifically how it affected Canada. Now, we know the basics, but this zooms in on the American revolutionaries' belief in divine providence.
Right, that they had God on their side.
Exactly. And how that belief factored into their decision to actually invade Canada. It makes you think, doesn't it? How deeply held ideas can drive historical events.
It really does. And that ties into another title, Manifest Destiny, Divine Disappointment.
Okay, Manifest Destiny, we know that one. American expansionism.
Right. And this book explores that ideology and, well, the conflicts it caused with Canada. But the interesting thing is the sort of underlying question.
Which is,
Did things actually turn out the way that American sense of, divine backing suggested they would? It subtly makes you question those neat historical narratives.
yeah, it nudges you to think a bit deeper. See? History, but with a twist. Okay, sticking with the Kingdom of Canada project, but shifting gears completely. Transfer of power.
Transfer of power sounds political, right? Treaties, maybe?
That's what I thought, but no, this is part of their background basics section, and it takes a totally different direction.
Oh, how so?
It's actually about the history of generating and transmitting electrical power.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, with a specific Canadian focus on Niagara Falls. So it's a different kind of history, the history of technology shaping the nation.
That's fascinating. It really broadens the idea of what history is, doesn't it? Beyond just politics and battles. Harnessing power like Niagara, that's fundamental to Canada's story.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that same background basics part, there's life lore polio.
Life lore polio. Okay.
This one traces the history of the disease, polio, and the whole journey to find a cure, from the very first understandings right up to modern medicine.
So a history of medical progress and public health.
Exactly. And if you put transfer of power and life lore polio together under that big Kingdom of Canada umbrella,
You get a much richer picture of a nation's past. Its technology, its health. It's not just the usual headlines.
right, okay, so Arooka definitely has a unique take on history, but they go way beyond that. Let's look at the Arooka living titles. This seems more contemporary, practical stuff, like Coffee in Shanghai.
Yeah, and there's a volume 2 as well. What's interesting is how specific it is. Not just a Shanghai guide, but coffee in Shanghai.
Right. Reviews, local scene info.
And volume 2 is free online, which kind of suggests they're really passionate about it, willing to share. It shows how they explore these really niche interests in depth.
Totally caters to specific passions. And then, talk about a shift, website and document accessibility.
Ah, okay. Very practical. Making websites and docs usable for everyone.
Crucial stuff, really.
Yeah.
Especially with standards always changing. They even link it to their Spirit Web thing. I think that's their web development service.
Yeah, sounds like it. And this book shows they're not just academic, they're tackling current real-world needs. Accessibility is about inclusion, so it has a genuine value.
Definitely. Very relevant. Now, okay, brace yourself for this one. Shanghai, The Babylon Connection, Book 1.
Wait, what? Shanghai and Babylon?
I know, right? My first thought was, how? They're worlds apart, millennia apart.
That is intriguing. What's the connection supposed to be?
Well, book I apparently digs into Babylon's origins, its geography, the tech they used, laying the groundwork, I guess, for linking it to modern Shanghai later on.
Wow. That's a bold connection to try and make. It's that kind of unexpected leap, though, that makes Arooka stand out, I think.
It definitely sparks curiosity. Okay, so what if you want information, but like faster, more bite-sized?
Yeah.
They have quick and easy guides.
Right. Designed for getting up to speed quickly, like the Quick and Easy Guide to Lipoma.
Lipoma, okay.
Yeah, it's a specific medical thing. The guide covers what it is, the types, how to spot them, treatments, complications, all in a concise format.
Gotcha. Focused info. And the variety in just these quick guides is pretty wild. There's also the Quick and Easy Guide to Opium
Opium? Okay.
and the Quick and Easy Guide to Asteroids.
Asteroids. Seriously.
Yeah. The asteroid one apparently covers the jargon, what happens if one hits, even technologies to potentially stop them.
So everything from medical conditions to space rocks, that really shows they're trying to make all sorts of topics accessible.
It does. Like different levels of detail for different needs, quick entry points into potentially complex subjects.
Makes sense. What else? Any titles for specific hobbies or interests?
Oh, yeah. Check this one out. Vector Man vs. Raster Woman.
Uh-huh. Okay, what's that?
It uses this fictional battle to explain graphic design concepts. Vector graphics versus raster graphics. You know, one uses math, scales perfectly. The other uses pixels, gets blurry.
Right. Vector for logos, raster for photos, generally.
Exactly. But explaining it through a story like that seems way more engaging than just a technical manual.
That's clever. Using narrative to teach tech stuff. That artistic polymath thing again, maybe.
Could be. Then there's a super specific pair. A comprehensive review of West Edmonton Mall and Secrets of West Edmonton Mall.
The mall, like the huge mall in Edmonton.
That's the one. Incredibly detailed looks at it. One's a review, the other's like the hidden stories behind it.
Yeah.
Talk about niche.
Wow. Focusing that deeply on one single place, even a massive one, is unique. It really shows they'll dive deep into almost anything.
Definitely. And they touch on cutting-edge tech, too, like 3D print, home-based 3D nanofabrication system.
Nanofabrication, so making tiny structures at home.
Sounds like it. Exploring current and future possibilities there. And then for the foodies, the Simple Chef Wake and Bake books. Volume 2 has over 100 recipes.
Wake and bake. Okay, recipes.
Yeah, plus bonus food science bits like explaining the chemistry in a good cherry pie or the science behind something called apple of the eye.
Oh, I like that. Not just how to cook, but why it works. Adds another layer.
Right. Okay, now for some maybe more controversial or thought-provoking ones, there's a title, Why China Should Ban Foreign NGOs.
Ooh, okay. That's a strong title.
Yeah, and just to be clear, we're not saying we agree or disagree, but the title suggests it presents arguments for that policy, probably based on some specific forum or discussion they mention.
So tackling a complex, sensitive geopolitical topic from a particular viewpoint, interesting that they include that, encourages you to think critically about different perspectives.
Definitely. Then there's pornoscientia, the prostitution of knowledge.
Whoa, what's that about?
The description suggests it looks at scientific ideas that mainstream science has kind of dismissed or labeled invalid.
Ah, so questioning the scientific consensus, looking at maybe forgotten or rejected theories?
Seems like it.
Yes.
Makes you think about how scientific knowledge evolves and maybe what gets left behind.
Yeah, that definitely challenges established scientific authority, raises big questions.
And don't forget, Genus on the magnet. Sounds simple, but it's historical, global. Looks at magnetism from ancient ideas right up to modern theories.
So tracing the long history of how we've understood magnetism across different cultures puts our current knowledge in context.
Exactly. Now shifting back to practical help, they have help, guides, very specific things like HTML5 video, disable context menu.
Okay, that's super specific, like for web developers who don't want people right-clicking on their embedded videos.
Pretty much, yeah. They also have broader guides on just HTML5 and SVG, those core web technologies.
So targeted problem solving for tech folks.
Right. And then for absolute beginners, there's quick and easy computer guides, how to use a mouse.
How to use a mouse. Wow.
Yeah. Uses pictures, simple language, shows they're really trying to cover the whole spectrum from basic skills up.
It's a good reminder that foundational stuff matters too. They seem to cater to all levels.
Okay, what about the artistic part of the polymath? They have art topics. One is just Space Art by Arooka.
Space art. So creative takes on space
It
exploration.
looks like it, bringing that artistic view to something usually seen as purely scientific or technical.
Leans into that creator description again.
Definitely. And there's a series of China art photo books from 2015. They focus on different cities, different aspects, like structural design in Shanghai and Shenzhen,
Okay, architecture focus.
visual design in Shanghai and Macau,
More graphic design, maybe interiors.
and even graffiti in Hong Kong. So capturing contemporary urban visuals in China at that time.
That's cool. A visual snapshot of design and street art in those cities. Valuable cultural insight.
And finally, travel topics. A big one seems to be lovepuxi.com, your best guide to Shanghai. Puxi is like central Shanghai, right?
Yeah, the main downtown area traditionally, so a very focused, probably practical guide for travelers.
And they highlight specific districts too, like Songjiang, mentioning its history from ancient times to today, and specific spots like Shishan or Thamestown.
Thamestown, yeah, the English-themed town shows they go into detailed local knowledge. Really useful if you're visiting.
Beyond Shanghai, they have other guides, hotels, residences, even one merging coffee and art walks. And then broader stuff like Arooka Arctic and Real Travel across Canada.
So different styles, deep dives locally, but also wider adventures. Covers a lot of ground for travelers.
Absolutely. And throughout the site, they have this be a patron thing, asking for support money, ideas, even just encouragement.
Makes sense for an independent platform like this.
They also have a choose-your-own-price option for ordering and a special offer. Donate $10, get a reprint of Manned Undersea Structures, the rock site concept.
Manned undersea structures. Okay, that really shows a range again. And the community support angle reinforces that independent creator vibe.
So yeah, wrapping up this deep dive, Arooka.com. It's genuinely remarkable, isn't it? The sheer breadth of topics they cover.
It really is. It feels like a playground for a curious mind.
Totally. For you, the listener, the learner, it seems like such a unique resource. Whether you need a quick rundown on, I don't know, Latomas, or you want that deep, source-based Canadian history.
There's a good chance you'll find something interesting there. That commitment to history from the source is quite distinct.
And then you have the super practical, quick and easy guides at the other end. Two really different but valuable ways of sharing knowledge.
And don't forget the weird, wonderful connections, like Shanghai coffee culture right next to a theory about Babylon.
Exactly. It's those unexpected things that can really spark new ideas, make you see things differently.
It broadens your horizons in ways you might not expect.
So maybe something to think about as you go about your day. What unexpected corner of knowledge are you curious about now? Perhaps Arooka.com has something on it. Or maybe this just highlights how much diverse, independent knowledge is out there waiting to be explored.